I'm on, I guess, 21 is the name of the freeway that I'm on, in Charlotte, and I just turned this corner, and out of nowhere, this giant blue and green structure popped up into the sky in the horizon, and it is Fury 325, and I'm really far away from it. Like, I'm still, you know, a few miles away from it, and it's huge. It's just massive. Like, it just juts into the sky, and I am super excited. It's only going to be a few more minutes before I finally get to Carowinds, and yeah, I am super excited to see the image in front of me. It's now 1:30. I finally got parked, and Carowinds, getting ready to go in. Parking lot, this whole front part of it, all the way almost to the back of where Intimidator sits, is pretty much full. There's still like a steady amount of people coming in, so it looks like it could be pretty busy. So I'll have to see when I get in the park. I mean, I bought this fast lane, and hopefully that decision pays off for me. It's a little bit overcast. I haven't looked at the weather today, but before I left, looking at the weather for the trip, it looked like we could possibly get some scattered storms here and there, but it didn't look like it was going to be too bad. So hopefully the weather holds off. So far, the entrance looks great. I haven't walked up to it yet, but I'll definitely get some video when I go over there, and I am super excited. So I'm going to go ahead and head into Carowinds. Finally made it here to Carowinds. It's the Saturday before Labor Day, 2015. Here to ride Fury 325. Hoping to make it my 150th coaster. It's ride looks really great. It looks really fast. The whole front entrance area looks really great. Yeah, super excited. Got the bridge where it crosses under that I'm on right now. Track crosses over there. Yeah, super excited. Gonna go ahead and head on in. Here at the front gate, we got the the new ticket booths and everything. Looks a lot like the one at Cedar Point. As you can see, they've already put the S on Carowinds to make Scarowinds, which should be coming up soon. I'm not exactly sure when their haunt stuff starts here, but it is Labor Day weekend, so it should be pretty soon. They got Fury 325. Looks awesome. I'm gonna go ahead and head on in. Just got inside the gate, and I noticed these things look like they're for haunt. I don't know, maybe they'll have like fire coming out of the top of them or something. I've never been here before. This is my first time at Carowinds, so all these coasters are new credits for me. Fury 325, I'm gonna go straight there first to get my 150th coaster credit. Yeah, I've never been here before, so I don't really know where I'm going. I'm the kind of person where I'd rather just kind of explore the park. I glanced at a map before I came, but I'd rather just explore the park and find out where I'm going for myself. If I have any trouble, I'll look at a map. But yeah, I'm gonna head towards Fury 325. One of the cool things about Carowinds is that it is in both North and South Carolina. Right now, I am in 2 places at once, which is kind of cool. 2 states at once. I just got off Fury 325, and wow. I got super lucky. I had the Fastlane Plus today, which I'm really glad I bought, because it looks like the queue's about an hour or so. It's like almost pretty much all the way back through the switchbacks. It doesn't wrap all the way around to the front, but it does go all the way through the switchbacks. I got super lucky, got the front seat twice and the back seat once, both times on the right side of the train. Hopefully later I can get to sit on the left side of the train and see how that goes. And wow, both seats were really, really awesome. Ride has really good speed throughout the entire ride. Really actually an impressive amount of speed, more than I was expecting for sure. Throughout pretty much the whole ride. It lets up a little bit after the, there's one hill that has a trim on it, where you do slow down a little bit after that. Like it doesn't go quite as fast through the giant helix. But the good thing is those hills actually have really, really great airtime. The first drop, you're basically out of your seat the entire drop. The front seat is good. The back seat is really great. Definitely one of the best first drops on a coaster if you sit in the back seat, because it kind of throws you out and you stay out of your seat the entire first drop. The turns, a lot of the bank turns do have airtime, which I kind of expected based on what I've heard about the ride. As you sort of go into a bank, you come out of your seat a little bit laterally, and then sometimes vertically as well, depending on what the ride does. The lateral airtime on those turns, was definitely better in the back. Definitely got a lot more in the back on those. Especially the best instance of that is coming out of what everybody's calling the treble clef, because if you look at it from a certain point, it does look like a treble clef. It's basically, I think it's a 720-degree turn. Actually, no, that's probably not right. But basically, the ride, it's the turnaround on the ride, and it stays banked at the top of the hill, basically, that you go up in the turn. And so you get some lateral airtime at the top of that, and then whenever it goes down to drop, you also get the vertical airtime, which is a really cool feeling. You get a little bit of that sensation on the other turns, definitely more so in the back seat than in the front seat. But in the front seat, the airtime hills on the back half of the ride are better. They're still really great in the back seat. Definitely like sort of almost borderline ejector airtime, which is really nice to see on a B&M. Definitely more intense airtime than what you would typically get on like a B&M Hyper. And in the front seat, on those hills, even the one with the trim, like you hit the trim, and the trim definitely does like hit. You definitely feel the trim, but you still, right after the trim, get really good airtime. Like I said, borderline ejector air, which in the front is pretty much ejector air, and the back is not quite as intense as the front on those hills, but the back you do get the better lateral airtime. Both seats, I mean, you really can't go wrong in either of the seats. I haven't ridden in the middle of the ride, but I've heard that pretty much there's not a bad seat on that ride. Definitely gonna be in my top 3 or so, probably. I'm not so sure. I'm gonna have to ride it a few more times, get a little bit more familiar with the ride, and kind of think about some of the other rides that I have up there. But for sure, definitely top. I would say top 5, if not top 3. Yeah, really great ride. Definitely exceeded my expectations of what a B&M could do. And yeah, so I'm going to continue around the park. And, oh yes, and it definitely was my Fury 325 was my 150th coaster credit. I'm glad that worked out for me this time. And so now I'm going to continue around the rest of the park, and I'll check in periodically. We got the Hurler, which is like a clone of the one that's at King's Dominion. So since it's right here, I guess I'll check that out, see if it's any better than the one at King's Dominion. Just got off the Hurler. It's not as bad as the one at King's Dominion, but still pretty bad. I rode towards the front because I figured if I sat in the back, then it would be really even worse. And maybe that's the reason why I don't think it's as bad, because I think before I rode in the back when I did at King's Dominion. But, you know, it is what it is. Just got off the Carolina Cyclone, or the Scarowinds Cyclone, as that sign says, for Scarowinds, the haunt. It's an Aero double loop, double corkscrew coaster. It wasn't too bad. It wasn't great, but, you know, it's a couple, you know, neck banging moments as to be expected, but definitely not as bad as some of the other ones. I do like how it has the corkscrews over the midway, kind of like corkscrew at Cedar Point. I don't think it's staged quite as well as corkscrew at Cedar Point, just because this tree's kind of in the way to make it, I don't know. And it's kind of weird too, they have this wooden fence that's all around the ride, including like in the trench where the helix is. It's got a wooden fence, which I found a little bit weird for some reason. But yeah, all in all, not bad. This is the Ricochet. It's a Wild Mouse coaster. I'm not exactly sure who makes it. I'm not exactly sure if it's a clone or not. Mainly just because I'm not a huge fan of Wild Mouse coasters, and I don't really necessarily care to know. At least not at the present moment. I'm going to skip it for now because it has a really long line, and for whatever reason, it's not on fast lane. I'll probably do it later if the line's shorter, just to get the credit. But I imagine that it's a lot like all the other Wild Mouse coasters. Maybe even possibly a clone, but like I said, I'm not really sure, just because I don't really know the facts on that one. This area, I guess it's the boardwalk area. It's a nice little area. We got a Chickies and Pete's over here, which I may be eating at later. And back there in the background, you can see Vortex, which I think is actually where I'm headed right now, to check out the old little B&M stand-up. On my way to Vortex, and I saw this guy. He looks kind of cool. Looks like he some kind of animatronic does something. Not really doing anything right now, but yeah, it looks like it's for the haunt, the Scarowinds, and looks like he's sleeping right now. We've got the slingshot here, which I think is new. Pretty sure is new for this year. And the Vortex behind it. Got Scary Tales over here, which looks like a haunt maze. And Vortex. I'm gonna go get on Vortex. Just got off the Vortex. That was kind of weird that I noticed that for whatever reason, this part of the park is not connected to that part of the park, because the queue goes right through it. So there's actually a fence dividing those two sections. Vortex overall is actually, it wasn't too bad. I'm not usually a fan of stand-up coasters, mainly because they're uncomfortable. The standing aspect doesn't bother me too much. It's just the way that the seat works is uncomfortable, and there's usually a lot of head banging. This one actually wasn't too much head banging. The back half of the ride, there was definitely a lot more than the front half of the ride. The corkscrew was pretty bad, but first half of the ride, not bad. This drop back here, coming out of this turn, there's actually a little bit of a kind of an airtime moment, which is pretty cool on a stand-up coaster. Yeah, Vortex overall is not too bad. Actually, definitely not the worst stand-up I've been on. I just got off of the Carolina Gold Rusher, which is apparently there's nothing faster on rails, according to the sign, which I thought was funny because, you know, it's probably one of the slower rides in the park. As far as mine trains go, it's not bad. First half of the ride, kind of have a slow, gradual hill that goes into a helix. Then the second half of the ride goes up a little bit higher, a little bit faster. The cool thing about it was that it actually had these trenches, which I thought was cool. But the problem with it was the way the lap bars come down and the way that the seats are designed. I was basically sitting on the edge of my seat and didn't really have a good place to put my legs, just the way that the lap bars work. And the second half of the ride was a little bit rough, and so it kind of hurt. But as far as mine trains go, definitely not the best, but also definitely not the worst either. Just got off the Carolina Cobra, which actually kind of has a cool sign. As far as Vekoma boomerangs go, this one's not too bad. It has the vests, the newer style restraints, so you don't get the head banging, which is good. But it is still pretty rough. I would still say the one at the Hershey Park one that also has the same vest is a little bit better. It's not quite as bad. But as far as boomerangs go, this one's actually okay. The band coming over here. There's a lot of cool haunt stuff over here. We've got these big containers that have stuff painted on the sides of them, which look kind of cool. There was a zombie high school sign over by the Cobra, and a school bus with the zombie high school written on it, which is kind of cool. This looks like it could be some kind of scare zone or something. I haven't been to many haunts, so I don't really know how theirs compares here to the other ones. But judging by the amount of stuff that they have throughout the park, it seems like it should be pretty good. I think it's cool how they literally add the Scarowinds S's to all the signs, which I think is pretty cool. This back area of the park, there's really not a whole lot back here. There's the entrance to the water park, which I passed earlier. Got some midway games, a ladder climb. Got this place to eat. It's apparently just called Wings. And looks like a way into the water park area over there. And more food. The Windseeker up there. Yeah, not a whole lot back here in terms of rides. Or really people either. So far it's been a pretty busy day. Most of the rides have had some kind of line, if not a fairly long line. Luckily, I went ahead and bought Fastlane Plus online before I got here, which I'm glad I did, because Fury looked like it was in about an hour or so. I'm not really sure how long that line takes to move. The operations on Fury were actually really good. They even had a ride operator saying the amount of time that you had to put on the seatbelt, being really diligent about making sure that people know that they need to quickly get on the train. They did kind of the same thing at the Carolina Cobra, saying you have this many seconds to get on the train once the gates open, stuff like that. But overall, like, at this point I've done quite a few of the coasters on this side of the park, and the operations so far are just kind of so-so. Like, some of them have really good operations and some of them are a little bit slow. The mine train was particularly slow. Yeah, overall, not bad operations, but definitely not the best. Got the Windseeker over here. We got the Nighthawk back here, which I guess I'll go ahead and go do that now since it's over here, which is a one of the Vekoma Flying Dutchman models. They have one at Kings Island, which I've done, and they have one at Six Flags America, which I've also done. So I'll see how it compares. Something I noticed, and I could just be imagining this, but these twists over here, these rolls, heartline rolls, I guess you call them, are actually have kind of a different shape to them than the other ones that I've been on. The other ones are more of like a flat heartline roll, and these are almost like, let me see if I can get a little bit closer. These are almost like flat corkscrews. And I'll have to go back and look at some pictures of the other ones and see whether or not I'm making this up. But I'll see if that makes any sort of difference. And compare it to the other ones after I get off. Nighthawk. Alright, I just got off of Nighthawk, which is the this Vekoma Flying Dutchman. It was pretty good. I like these okay. I like flying coasters overall. I think the B&M ones are definitely a lot smoother, and the restraints are more comfortable on them. This one, I noticed a couple things that are actually different from the other two that I've been on. The twists, the hardline twists, are definitely feel different than the other ones. Because it looks like they're hardlined differently. So you actually kind of like, it almost feels more like a corkscrew. This one also doesn't have a helix, which I didn't really realize until I got on it, and I remembered the other ones have helix at the end, which the helix is pretty forceful on the other ones. To be honest, it's kind of uncomfortable going against the vests just because it is so forceful. Another thing I like about this one is the way that it's staged with the path that goes through it, which I think is pretty cool. And something that you actually can't really see from this path, and maybe you can if I get further over there, is that a lot of it's actually over water, or parts of it at least are actually over water, which is cool. Neither of the other two that I've been on are over water. The one at Kings Island is just kind of, doesn't really have many trees or anything around it. The one at Six Flags America is kind of just in the back by itself, not much going on around it. But this one definitely, of the three that I've been on, has the best location and the best terrain and everything around it. And the trees, and over here there's some rocks. So I liked that. This one's pretty rattly. The one at Six Flags America is probably worse in terms of the rattle. I think Firehawk is probably the smoothest of the three at Kings Island. But in terms of the ride experience, I mean, I don't know. I think, like I said, I think the one at there's the water here. I think the one at Kings Island is a little bit smoother, maybe a little bit more enjoyable. But like I said, I like the location of this one. I like that it goes over the water. I like that it goes over the paths. So at this point, I'd kind of put them on par. And I don't miss the helix at the end. And I kind of like those rolls a little bit better. They don't hurt as much. So I kind of put this one and Firehawk on par with Batwing at Six Flags America being my least favorite of the three. But yeah, that's Nighthawk. I just got off of the Intimidator. Something I want to point out. 75% off sale. Intimidator drinkware mugs, magnets, keychains, frames, and figurines. I'll definitely be buying something later since it is so cheap. Again, definitely feel like here it could really get rebranded because here it's 75% off. At King's Dominion it was only 40. Granted, I think the specific items that are on sale at both places are a little bit different. I like this. I liked Intimidator a lot. I rode it in the front. Or I rode it the back first. I rode it at the back right. And on this one has the staggered seating, so I actually rode on the outside back right. And then I rode it in the second row on the left, which is technically the front car, but it's the outside left seat. I definitely liked the front better. The back's better at the top of the drop, but the front is pretty much better for the rest of the ride, with the exception of maybe the last few elements. This one has a lot of this one feels to me like to be one of the faster ones. I'm not really sure of the stats off the top of my head how this one compares to some of the other ones, but this one definitely feels faster to me. And the airtime is a little bit more intense on this one than on like Nitro and Apollo's Chariot. I don't know if the airtime is as prolonged as like Apollo's Chariot is, but it's definitely better than Nitro, and definitely pretty comparable ride to Diamondback. I think I like a Diamondback just a little bit better because I like Diamondback's layout a little bit better, and I like Diamondback's location better. This one is pretty much a parking lot coaster. There's not a whole lot going on in terms of the scenery around the ride. I'll just point out a couple things in this area while I'm over here before I start walking. If you go that way, I came from Nighthawk, which is over there. If you go that way, it basically takes you right back to the front entrance. You have the Dale Earnhardt race car, and then we have some more haunt stuff. But yeah, so Intimidator, like I said, the airtime is really good. In the front, it's definitely better in the front, for sure, for the first few hills, because you get, in the back you come out kind of at the top of the hill and then ride over the top of the hill, but in the front you come out a little bit before you do in the back, and it's definitely more intense. It has this cool, let me see if I can get to an angle, excuse me, see if I can get to an angle where I can show you what I'm about to talk about. But it has a cool, the second hill, it goes up and it does a turn. You can kind of see the top of it there, where it turns down and it kind of makes an S and kind of turns the other way. That turn was really cool in the front seat. It didn't really do much for me at all in the back seat, but in the front seat you kind of pop out right there at the very top of the hill. In the top of the turn you kind of pop out. Not quite like you do on like Fury, but still definitely a cool element. The turnaround didn't really do much for me. The first few hills are really good. Even once the trims start to hit, it's still pretty good. I think after the turnaround, there's 2 or 3 hills, and then it hits the mid-course. When the ride starts to slow down, it's really kind of like the hill right before the mid-course. It slows down a little bit. You still get airtime on that hill. The mid-course doesn't really hit too hard, but the problem is after the mid-course, the ride's pretty much over. You basically go down and you go over one more airtime hill, I think, and then you do kind of helix kind of looking thing. You can kind of see it back there behind the fence. You kind of do a helix that doesn't really do much. It's not a very forceful helix like the one on Diamondback where you're helixing up into the mid-course. And then you just kind of come up into the brakes, and that's it. So really the mid-course is kind of about 2/3 of the way through the ride, and the ride to me is over at the mid-course. The rest of it's not that exciting. I mean, it's okay, but it's not that exciting. In terms of, this is the 4th one. This is the 4th of the B&M Hypers that I've ridden. I've ridden Nitro, Apollo's Chariot, Diamondback, and this one. I still like Diamondback the best, even if only just a little bit. It's been a while since I've ridden it, so maybe that would change, but Diamondback to me has a little bit better layout. It has the really forceful helix. The return run is definitely a lot better after the mid-course, and it's got the splashdown, which is kind of a nice touch. This one though, is definitely good. I mean, it's got the speed. It's got really good airtime. Some of the more intense floater airtime, the ones I've been on. But the location's not great. The layout's okay. I like the second turn in the front, not as much as I do. I like it in the front. I don't like it as much in the back. So I would my list. I would put Diamondback first, and then I would put this one behind Diamondback, and then I would put Apollo's Chariot, which could maybe almost be on par with this one, just because they're different rides. Apollo's Chariot isn't quite as intense, but you're definitely out of your seat more on Apollo's Chariot, and I like Apollo's Chariot's layout, and I like that it goes through the terrain, but it's definitely not quite as intense as this one, and I tend to like more intense rides. And then Nitro would be the fourth one on my list because it's slowed down a lot, doesn't really do much anymore. At this point, I'm at Harmony Hall, where I'm actually going to grab a bite to eat, and I will check in a little bit. I just got done eating at Harmony Hall. It's basically a big food court. They have like an Italian section with pizza. They have a grill with like burgers and chicken sandwiches and stuff like that. They have barbecue, which is what I got. I had the pulled pork sandwich and mac and cheese, which is pretty good. They put a whole lot of pork on the sandwich, so at least, you know, with the amusement park price, at least I got a lot of food, so that was good. They also have a salad section. They also had live entertainment, which when I was in there, there was a band playing kind of pop country hits kind of thing, with you know, singing and dancing and everything. They also had a bar in there, which I did not stop at, but I will probably go to later, because I noticed that there is a beer on tap there called Caro Brew, which I'm assuming is the park's beer. About to walk through Planet Snoopy, trying to get to the other side of the park. I may actually check out this little Vekoma, I think it's a Vekoma at least, family suspended coaster, because I've never actually done one of these before, so I kind of want to check it out. I actually ended up skipping it, at least for now, because it's not on Fastlane, and there's actually quite a line for it. Something I'm noticing walking through here is that they actually have haunt stuff in their Planet Snoopy, which I thought was interesting. I even saw like a creepy doll sitting on one of these things. Yeah, I think they called it the playground. So I guess it's themed to a haunted playground. But yeah, kind of cool. After passing through Planet Snoopy, you come into this, I guess, kind of Western themed area, which right now has a bunch of haunt stuff in it. It's got this whole cemetery area. There's a Chick-fil-A, and Boo Blasters, which is the, of course, the Sally shooting dark ride, which I'll probably do a little bit later. And if you go that way, it connects over by the Mine Train, Windseeker. Looks like they're setting up some kind of Scream Zone here as well. Circus of Thrills. And I'm coming back here to get on Afterburn, which is this B&M invert that I've heard so much about, that I'm super excited to get a ride on. Hopefully I can get my thoughts to you after getting off this ride before my battery dies, because I'm probably at some point going to have to find a way to recharge my phone. I just got off of Afterburn. You may notice that it's a lot darker now than it was just a second ago before I got on Afterburn. The reason for that is, unfortunately, my phone died, and so I took advantage of the opportunity to go ahead and shop, get some merchandise, go to my car, grab my charger, and then I went to Harmony Hall and enjoyed a Caro Brew, which was pretty good. But yeah, so I just got off Afterburn. I did ride it earlier before. I rode it twice earlier once in the front and once in the back, and then I just rode it again a third time in the back. The back is definitely a much better ride than the front. The front is not bad, but the back is definitely the much better seat on this ride. So this is definitely one of my new favorite inverts. At this point I've ridden, I guess, 5 or 6, plus a couple of the Batman clones. Yeah, I really like this one. The reason why I'm walking this way is because I wanted to point something out, which I actually didn't realize until I walked back here. So Afterburn has this, probably my favorite element on Afterburn is this, it's kind of like a Batwing. I don't think it's exactly a Batwing. I think there's actually a different name for it. Because if you look, it enters here, goes up, down, it actually goes underneath this path, and then up and back around that way. And I think, technically in a Batwing, the tracks cross. I think that the top isn't quite as tight. This is actually my favorite element of this ride, and something I did not realize is that it actually goes down under this path, which is right by the other entrance of the park. And it's kind of cool because that means that Carowinds has rides that go under the pathways at the entrance of the park, on both entrances of the park. Yeah, so, you know, this is one of kind of, I guess, the middle-sized B&M inverts. And it's really, I like it a whole lot. I mean, it's really forceful. The elements are pretty tight, proportional to kind of the size of the ride. You go down the drop turn, you go through the loop, and it's a really tight loop. Like, you're going pretty fast at the top of it. Definitely a lot of positive G's. You go through an Immelman, which is pretty good. You go through a zero G roll right here, which is really good. Definitely one of the better zero G rolls. It's taken pretty quickly. It's especially good in the back seat. Then you go through this Batwing thing, which it's not really a Batwing. I forget what the name of it is. It might be like a pretzel twist or something like that. And then you go up and you go over this little hill, which unfortunately the hill doesn't do much. It's kind of slow by the time you get there, so there's not like a whole lot of airtime or anything. And then you go down and you do a corkscrew. The corkscrew's okay. I got a little bit of a headbang in both the front and the back on it, but it's still a pretty tight corkscrew, so it's still good. And then you go around a helix, and it's a good helix. It's a forceful helix, and then you hit the brake run. So yeah, it's about a medium-sized invert. Maybe, I don't know the stats off the top of my head, but it reminded me a lot of Raptor. The way that the elements are, kind of the size and speed of it definitely reminded me of Raptor. But it doesn't have a mid-course brake run, which I like a lot. Because it doesn't have a mid-course brake run, it maintains its speed throughout the entire ride. And so it's a complete ride from start to finish. Also, instead of a Cobra Roll, which the one on Rattler's okay. I'm not a huge fan of Cobra Rolls. Instead of a Cobra Roll, it has that Batwing pretzel twist thing, which I really like a lot. So let me get one more cycle on video. I'm really glad I got this this fast pass, this fast lane, because it has been pretty busy here. Definitely a really great invert. You know, I'm gonna ride Raptor tomorrow, so I'll have a better comparison point between it and Raptor. But at this point, I would say it's definitely in my top 2 or 3 inverts. I would probably put it after Raptor, but I'm gonna ride Raptor tomorrow, so that may change. But yeah, definitely a really great invert afterburn here at Carowinds. At this point, it's about 8 o'clock. The park closes in 2 hours. It is getting pretty dark, as you can see. So I'm not going to really be able to take much more video because my camera doesn't really do well in the dark. But I've had a really great time here at Carowinds. I've really enjoyed a lot of the rides. At this point, I'm going to ride Afterburn again. Probably get a few more rides on Intimidator and probably several more rides on Fury. And maybe hit some of the things that I skipped along the way. And then I'm going to call it a day here at Carowinds. I'll definitely share my thoughts on the entire park later. And yeah, I hope you've enjoyed my